headlines of this hour on VTV News. The Central Steering Committee on Preventing and Combating Corruption opens its 26th session. And Vietnamese agricultural products adapt to high standards on food safety. In our world news, Thai court removes Prime Minister from office for gross ethic violation.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good morning. It is 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi, and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huyen Trân with the top stories. On Wednesday morning, Party General Secretary and State President Tô Lâm, head of the Central Steering Committee on Anti-Corruption, chaired the 26th meeting of the Steering Committee. More to follow.
In the first 6 months of the year, the Politburo and the Secretariat issued more than 30 documents. The National Assembly passed 13 laws, issued 3 resolutions, and commented on 10 draft laws. The government and the Prime Minister issued 98 decrees and 207 decisions. Ministries and branches issued more than 300 circulars. The relevant authority has considered removing from office, retiring from work, and assigning other jobs to 14 officials under the management of the central government and 172 officials under the management of local party committees.
Anti-corruption work must be implemented at the grassroots level, and the lower the better, as it must engage each party member. It would be great if these things can be detected early. Each party member must be supervised by the people. Each party cell must meet monthly to evaluate how this work is being monitored.
Party General Secretary and State President Tô Lâm requested that by the end of this year, 30 cases must be investigated and prosecuted if needed, and 6 cases under the supervision and direction of the Steering Committee must be verified and resolved.
It is necessary to combine anti-corruption with the good organization of party congresses at all levels and the 14th Party Congress to prevent corruption and degradation to enter the party committee. Secondly, it is necessary to serve socio-economic development. Accelerating the progress of building and perfecting a synchronous anti-corruption institution is also a stable element of developing the country, removing bottlenecks, difficulties, and obstacles, not leaving cadres in a state of fear, inertia, and inaction.
Party General Secretary and State President Tô Lâm requested the promotion of the work of inspection, supervision, and auditing, focusing on areas prone to corruption, and thoroughly handling violations of party organizations and party members.
Prime Minister Pham Minh Chính has signed to issue an official dispatch directing ministries, sectors, and localities to effectively implement the land law, housing law, and real estate business law, all of which came into force simultaneously on August 1st. Now, to ensure that these new laws are well applied in practice, the Prime Minister has outlined several immediate tasks in the official dispatch. Accordingly, relevant ministries were instructed to urgently guide local authorities on the new policy stipulated in these laws and documents regulating their detailed implementation. These ministries were also tasked with overseeing and guiding the issuance of detailed regulations as authorized by the laws and their related decrees, and reporting progress to the Prime Minister by August 20th. Now, local authorities were demanded to concentrate resources and ensure the necessary conditions for the effective enforcement of these laws. They must proactively collaborate with relevant ministries and sectors to resolve any issues arising in the implementation process. The government leader instructed leaders of ministries, sectors, and localities to make related administrative procedures publicly available on the government's public service portal and local electronic information portals, as well as at administrative procedure reception points. The Prime Minister assigned Deputy Prime Minister Trần Hồng Hà to directly oversee and direct the implementation of this official dispatch. Now, on Wednesday, Prime Minister Phie chaired a teleconference to review 10 years of carrying out Directive Number 40 of the 11th Party Central Committee's Secretariat on enhancing the party's leadership over social policy credit. The government leader acknowledged and spoke highly of the contributions made by ministries, sectors, and administrations at all levels towards implementing the directive. He affirmed that the party and state's consistent policy is to develop the economy in tandem with social justice and not to sacrifice social progress, justice, or the environment to pursue a pure economic growth. He also stressed the need to prioritize capital for ethnic people and those in disadvantaged border and island regions. He further asked Vietnam Bank for social policies to improve its forecast and analyze its capacity, step up its IT application and digital transformation, and build a prestigious and a devoted staff to serve the people. The National Assembly Standing Committee on Wednesday continued to hold a special session on law to give opinions on the explanation, acceptance, and revision of 3 draft laws. More on this in the following story.
Giving opinions on the draft law on fire prevention, fighting and human rescue, the National Assembly Standing Committee praised the fire prevention regulations and noted the need to have additional regulations related to fire prevention and fighting in high-rise buildings in large cities.
We do not have high ladders for firefighting. When approving the construction of however many floors, we must ensure that there are enough firefighting ladders. For example, our ladders can support up to 15 floors, but if we build 20 to 25 floors, there is no other way.
According to international experience, above the 20th floor, people arrange a technical floor without human resources there. When an incident occurs, households can move down and the ladder can reach up to put out the fire. We should consider the need to have such a policy.
There are opinions suggesting that more specific regulations handling facilities and constructions that do not meet fire safety requirements should be included in the draft law.
For works that had yet to meet fire safety requirements but have been put into use, only 2,964 works out of a total of 11,007 works have been repaired. There are works that cannot be repaired, such as the HH apartment in Link Dam.
Giving opinions on the acceptance and revision of the draft revised value-added tax law, the Standing Committee requested agencies study, thoroughly consider, and fully assess the impact of applying a tax rate of 5% or 0% or not subject fertilizers to tax. On the amended draft law on cultural heritage, the Standing Committee requested a further review of mechanisms and policies on public investment, social investment, and the decentralization of powers of entities in the state management of cultural heritage. Closing the session, the National Assembly Chairman requested the verification agency coordinate with the drafting agency to continue perfecting the draft's content and asked for careful preparation for the 36th session of the National Assembly Standing Committee.
With the theme of comprehensive security and enhanced connectivity towards the future, the 27th ASEAN Immigration Department's Directors General and Foreign Affairs Ministry's Consular Affairs Division's heads meeting has officially opened on Wednesday in the coastal city of Nha Trang in Khánh Hòa province. The meeting focused on challenges to the immigration and consular affairs work, aiming at building on a common ASEAN house that stays firm in any circumstances. It marks the tightened cooperation between immigration and consular affairs agencies in the ASEAN, while offering an opportunity for host country Vietnam to demonstrate its responsibility as a member, contributing to building an ASEAN of unity and solidarity. Vietnamese agricultural products now reach 180 countries and territories. However, despite efforts to meet market demands, Vietnam received 57 warnings from the European Union or EU in the first half of this year. These warnings mainly concern fruits, vegetables, spices, seafood, and other food products. The primary issue is excessive pesticide residues. Consequently, tightening quality control in growing areas is crucial.
Over 180 hectares of durian are ready for harvest. The cultivation and care processes adhere to global GAP standards, meeting export requirements for the Chinese market. After harvesting, the durians will undergo processing and chemical residue checks before shipping.
The company uses high-quality fertilizers. We also adhere to the isolation period to ensure harvest safety. It's more demanding compared to traditional procedures, but to meet the requirements, we must closely follow the rules.
For Vietnamese pomelo to successfully enter the South Korean market, it must pass through 8 control steps, ranging from registering a growing area code to clearing import inspection in South Korea.
South Korea has strict regulations regarding agricultural imports. If pests or live flies are found, the shipment will be halted, and its growing area will be banned from export.
Major export markets like the EU, China, and Japan regularly update regulations on food safety and maximum pesticide residue levels for each product. Sometimes, sudden changes can catch businesses off guard if they are not well informed about each market.
Importing countries have stringent requirements for chemical residue. That is also our top concern, so we are helping farmers follow the rules.
Understanding and adhering to importing countries' technical requirements is crucial. Failure to do so can create barriers for businesses, potentially negating their market entry efforts. Therefore, understanding and complying with each market's regulations is essential for smooth exports, particularly for agricultural products.
Vietnamese agricultural enterprises are taking advantage of opportunities from free trade agreements to increase exports. However, when tariff barriers are lowered, some technical barriers are increased. Therefore, enterprises need to adapt to this new regulation.
To successfully enter South Korea, recently, Vietnamese grapefruit has had to ensure that it meets 8 control steps, from registering the growing area code to checking imports in the host country.
South Korea is one of the markets with very strict regulations. If pests or live flies are detected, the shipment will be stopped from being imported, and the growing area will not be allowed to be exported.
Even with regulations that have been in place for many years, there are still shipments that violate regulations. In the first half of this year, Vietnam received 57 food safety warnings from the EU, an increase of 80% over the same period. Most of them were small shipments weighing less than 1 ton but have affected the overall brand.
When the tariff barrier returns to zero, countries tend to apply strict food safety and disease safety measures. Therefore, the SPS Capacity Enhancement Project approved by the government is very suitable and meets the real standards.
The EU updates regulations every 6 months. Other markets such as China and Japan also continuously issue regulations on sustainability and green development. In many of Vietnam's growing areas, farming according to market standards has become a familiar practice. More than 180 hectares of durian are preparing to be harvested, and will be brought to the processing factory and tested for residues before exporting.
We care for plants following the global gap provisions to export to China and other countries. At first, it will feel unfamiliar and we won't be used to it, but to meet the requirements, we must follow it strictly.
Recently, Vietnam's instant noodle products have officially been removed from the list of products subject to EU food safety control after 2 years. This shows that if Vietnam strictly implements regulations and quality standards, Vietnamese agricultural products will have more opportunities for export to international markets.
Coming up next on VTV News. Natural disaster-resistant houses ensure livelihoods for flood and landslide victims. And Smart Village initiative thrives in the ethnic Hmong community in Lai Châu province. Welcome back to VTV News. Now, 200 houses will be built for households who have lost their homes due to recent floods and landslides in affected areas in 11 northern mountainous provinces. The program is held by the Ministry of Public Security and implemented by provincial police departments. The construction of the first house started on Wednesday in Vân Hồ district in Sơn La province. Other provinces will also start construction in the coming days. The initial cost is $2,000 for each house, and local police departments also plan to mobilize social resources and support each household with an additional $1,000. These houses are designed with 3 standards: firm foundations, firm structures, and firm roofs. These standards allow them to withstand current natural disaster situations. The 200 houses will be completed before October 15th. Fire prevention, fighting, and rescue operations are critical for safeguarding national security and maintaining public order. As Vietnam continues to push forward with industrialization and modernization, ongoing efforts are needed to upgrade the equipment used by the fire prevention, firefighting, and rescue police force to ensure effective execution of duty and risk mitigations.
Firefighting robots are among the advanced equipment currently in use by the Hanoi Police Department of Fire Prevention and Fighting and Rescue. These specialized tools are built for practical situations, enabling more efficient firefighting and rescue.
We have been equipped with various tools and vehicles, such as paramedic ambulances, fire trucks, ladder trucks, smoke extractors, and firefighting robots, along with other modern equipment. These tools have largely met the demands of our operational duties. In the future, we expect to receive additional modern tools to enhance our readiness for firefighting and rescue missions.
Some of the specialized equipment currently in use by our squad includes a rebreather set, an oxygen refilling machine, a harness machine, and a radar for locating victims in collapsed buildings. Additionally, there are devices for detecting and measuring radiation levels. In the past, when approaching a fire, we wore standard uniforms that offered limited protection, which significantly impacted the health of our officers. Now, with the new uniforms, the heat's impact on our personnel is greatly reduced.
These supplement equipment greatly aids officers in the field. For instance, thermal imaging cameras allow firefighters to quickly identify the origin of a fire before extinguishing it.
At times of natural disasters and fires, Vietnam's firefighting and rescue police forces undertake a significant mission to save lives and protect property. Advanced equipment and technology play a crucial role in enhancing the efficiency of these missions, supporting firefighters in fulfilling their duties and minimizing losses.
Now, in recent years, Quy Nhơn City in Bình Định Province has made a lasting impression on visitors, earning recognition twice as an ASEAN Clean Tourist City. This achievement stems largely from the city's well-planned development of public and green spaces.
Quy Nhơn currently boasts over 60,000 public trees. The city also has more than 100 hectares of green parks, including many large parks.
Every ward has several parks, not just one. On every 1 or 2 streets, there is a park.
To build a greener Quy Nhơn, the Bình Định People's Committee has tasked the city with planting 4,000 new trees annually and developing 3 to 4 hectares of parks each year.
The company has proactively advised the City People's Committee to build new parks whenever land is available. This serves to attract tourists.
As a result, Quy Nhön's green space now exceeds 33% of the total urban area, making it one of the cities with the highest green space density in the central region and across the country.
Efforts to accelerate digital transformation in rural development are gaining momentum nationwide. Now, in some remote and ethnic communities, local authorities are striving to implement the Smart Village initiative to bridge the digital divide between urban and rural areas. A prime example of this initiative can be seen in Sin Suối Hồ village in Phong Thổ district, Lai Châu province. This village, whose entire population is the Hmong ethnic group, has been selected as a pilot smart village.
Residents like Vang A Tuo and others in Sin Sui Ho have grown familiar with the notification sounds indicating successful payments of forest environmental services. To date, 97% of households in Sin Sui Ho have had personal bank accounts to receive payments and benefits.
I find it convenient to receive payments through a bank account. It saves me the trouble of commuting to the commune's office.
Since the implementation of the Smart Village initiative, Sin Sui Ho Village has set up a Zalo group chat that includes representatives from all households. This platform serves as a vital communication channel between residents and local authorities.
The village chief can simply notify everyone from home instead of going around delivering oral announcements. When the party and state's policies are communicated by the village head, everyone listens and follows accordingly.
Despite ongoing challenges related to digital infrastructure and limited digital skills among ethnic communities, local authorities in Sin Sui Ho have been actively expanding the Smart Village initiative to other highland communes in Lai Châu province.
To review and promote the program to the villages. We resolve any issues they encounter and rely on educated young people with smartphones to guide others through the process. The villagers find this approach very helpful and fully support the local government's efforts.
The practical outcomes of the Smart Village initiative in ethnic communities are contributing to narrowing the digital divide between rural and urban areas and establishing digital governments and digital citizens across the country.
Coming up next in our world news. Thai court removes Prime Minister from office for gross ethics violation. And several countries condemn Israeli minister's visit to Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now moving on to our world news. Thailand's Constitutional Court on Wednesday removed Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin from office over an ethics case. The judges ruled Srettha had grossly breached ethical standards. He was accused by a group of former senators of breaching ethic rules by appointing a lawyer with a criminal conviction to his cabinet. The Thai parliament will convene to vote on a new premier. The United Nations and several countries on Tuesday denounced Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir for leading prayers at the Flashpoint Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. The UN Deputy Spokesman Phie Haag stated that the organization was against any efforts to change the status quo within the holy sites. The United States, the European Union, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, France, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, and Jordan also urged Israel to respect the status quo at Islam's third holiest site and also Judaism's holiest place. Under rules dating back decades, Jews are allowed to visit the Al-Aqsa compound but may not pray there. China recently unveiled a groundbreaking guideline for accelerating a comprehensive green transition in all economic and social sectors. This marks China's first systematic implementation of green and low-carbon objectives. By 2030, key areas in the economic and social sectors will see a notable progress in the green transition. The target is for non-fossil fuels to constitute 25% of the total energy mix. To achieve this target, the guideline emphasizes the needs for the accelerated development of these energy sources tailored to local conditions. By 2035, a green, low-carbon and circular economy will largely be established, with carbon emissions peaking and then gradually declining. The guideline also stated that economic and social development will fully adopt a green path. The energy-saving and environmental protection industry is projected to reach a scale of approximately 15 trillion yuan, equivalent to over $2 trillion. Now, according to a report from the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, this past July was the hottest July on record. Millions of workers around the world are severely affected by the extreme heat, But a Texas-based construction company has launched a pilot program that gives workers a heat sensor that pairs with a software called Safeguard to protect them in longer and hotter seasons to come.
At the start of every workday, construction worker Charles Smith puts on his safety essentials: hard hat, safety glasses, a reflective vest, and a small watch-like band for his wrist. Rather than track time, its purpose is to ensure he doesn't overheat while working under sweltering summer days in Texas. The wristband monitors his heart rate, core body temperature, stress, and more. If it detects signs of overheating, it warns him and his safety manager, advising him to rest and hydrate. The device serves as an early warning system to prevent heat-related injuries and illnesses.
Typically, the first alarm goes to the employee. It kind of lets them know, hey, calm down, might need to go inside, take you a little quick breather, get some water, okay? And then there's a monitor alert. Monitor alert's going to send the guardian, which is me, the superintendent, and the employee an alert. Like, hey, go check on the individual, make sure they're okay. We're going to probably pull them out of the heat, get them some water.
Rogers O'Brien launched a pilot program that gives workers the option to wear a heat sensor that pairs with a software called Safeguard. The technology is one way workplaces are setting up employee protections as summers grow hotter, longer, and more extreme.
Access to water, swamp fans, cooling station, electrolytes, and it was actually very impressive, the steps they took to make sure we were safe.
In the absence of federal heat rules for workers, some employers are taking it upon themselves to safeguard employees from extreme heat dangers.
Now let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel, VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.